Hello, Jim, Bill, Rabsy, and 175,000 people going to the same venue over tonight and tomorrow afternoon.
Well, it's interesting. As we were just discussing, I've just been in Adelaide, and a couple of people said to me, I have to get over to see the Anzac Day game. And I said to them, yes, you do, because it is extraordinary. But don't miss the night before. It's not as good, but it ain't far behind.
Well, it's got its own appeal, doesn't it, in terms of the lighting and the darkness that combines beautifully to symbolise what this day is all about. And I agree with you. I feel it's become... Look, it's not as important, but it's the next rung down, isn't it, to it? And it's been a huge part of the whole AFL world when it comes to Anzac Day.
Have you seen the ins and outs, by the way? Ian Lever, gone.
Yep.
Michael Hibbert, out. Tomlinson, omitted. Charlie Spargo, injured. Melcham, omitted. And Tom McDonald, omitted, who was pretty good a couple
and they've
of weeks
already
ago.
had their hit-outs in the VFL on the weekend.
So there's no change there.
Changes,
and then Short in for the Tigers.
Massive in for the Tigers, isn't it? Short,
is. Sonsi is omitted and Ralph Smith omitted.
Yeah, look, Gawn's the big one who's missed the 4 weeks with that knee injury that at one stage was jeopardising his and Melbourne's season. But again, it's no surprise once he got the all clear from it being the extreme problem of what he did. He just rushed back with his own work, so he's back in. And Lever, from a team balance perspective, is equally as crucial coming back into that team tonight. And look, I'm not the world's best chipster. I'm far from it. In fact, I'm regularly bad at it. But I just can't see a way Richmond can beat.
Well, the
Melbourne
difference
tonight.
it makes for Melbourne when they get their back six set is they're a totally different team to play against. They still haven't got Salem back there, but the rest of them are back involved. And Lever and May playing in the same team is an enormous difference to how you play against Melbourne.
And they want to bounce back after last week's effort also. They will.
They will. And then you got tomorrow's game, which, Bill, as you said, without the teams yet being official, Craig McRae yesterday, Collingwood coach, revealed that Nathan Kruger would play. And that's despite him also having a very severe interruption injury-wise with the shoulder. But last week played in the VFL for 3 disposals and 5 hit-outs. And on top of all of that, Jim was required to train solo this week because of a continuation of a virus that has gone through Collingwood. Jordan DeGoey missed last week's game because of it. The captain, Darcy Moores, also had it. So far from ideal. But
it's not COVID.
No, it's just a virus of sorts or an illness of sorts. They just want to quarantine him as best they can. But clearly, and that its selection is on the basis of they're coming up against Draper and Phillips, who combined so well last week to defeat Melbourne.
It is the best, Nick. I just said this before, that those two teams have been coming into this game for a long time. So it's great.
Yeah, it is.
100,000 people and two teams that are up and about.
It's so exciting on that regard. And Bill, you just got an update there on one we were waiting for the update on.
Touk Miller, who's going to miss a fair portion of footy. That's all they could say. So
that's an official release from the Suns.
That's from the Suns. Yeah.
Suffered a lateral meniscus tear in his left knee.
Okay. Stu said last night he will miss some weeks, and what is it? Large
a fair portion of footy.
That's a worry, isn't it?
Well, that's for people who are old. That's cartilage.
Yeah.
But what they do now is if you get a bad enough split in it, they sew it back up again. They used to just rip it out, but then you had bone on bone, couldn't walk when you're 45. So now they actually surgically repair it, but it then takes a long time.
Some time to do it.
To heal once done. So that's not good news for them because he's their best player.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was, and they got a much-needed win against North Melbourne yesterday. We'll touch on that soon. But the big winner out of the 7 completed games of round 6 was St Kilda, I felt, yesterday with what they did against Carlton. They're yet to concede beyond 74 points, and that was against Essendon in round 3. And to think that is the most they've conceded, it's in keeping with Ross Lyon. And they just strangled Carlton yesterday, didn't they? With the way they set themselves up and just ran away with it, basically. And while Carlton sort of kept hanging in there, they were never going to retrieve the deficit. And I just want to put to you, Jim, is it possible that Ross Lyon's a better coach now without the established stars in his stable? I mean, we saw what he did with established stars at St Kilda initially and then Fremantle, and he had the legitimate greats of those two clubs under his watch. I don't think he's got greats under his watch right now, and yet the resourcefulness with which he's been required to operate under, I think we might be seeing the true genius of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're going to get better at any job you do the more you do it.
Yeah.
And I'd agree with you. I think it was a genius move to get him back, and he is proving how good he is.
And he will get one who could be in that bracket down the track in Max King at some stage soon. And
who else is out that they Because now you look at that team, you go, how are they going to come in?
Well,
So Max King,
Membry's back.
He's back.
Yeah.
So Max King.
Billings is one you'd think once he's up and running. And I know he was in and out of the team
Yeah,
under
he
the
was.
previous coach at times last year, but you'd think he would be back in. running.
Cohesion is the word that they're all using, Jim. Exactly what Freo have not
Don't
got.
have.
Yes.
Yeah.
But St Kilda have, and they're playing for one another.
They
They're
are.
playing for Ross. They're playing for themselves.
Yeah.
It's good fun to watch.
I mean, Brad Crouch looked gone at various stages, didn't he? For the latter time at Adelaide and for his early foray through his time at St Kilda.
Yeah.
But he's gone back to being that player who was drafted, number 2, 3, 4, whatever it was by Adelaide all those years ago.
Speaking of Adelaide, 4 in a row.
Yeah, you've got to give them full marks. Now, I know some people say that the most recent one of those games was a steal, and it was with the brilliance of Rankin and Fogarty, Bill, who you were talking about off air being the best set shot kick in the game.
Well, Jeremy Cameron's not bad. But Fogarty, that one on the boundary when they needed it,
Yeah.
and even the coach said we thought he was going to snap it, and he just went back and kicked the normal drop punt. But then Texan, he kicked 4. He's flying the Tex.
Yeah,
and even Rory,
Mad Mate Sloan.
he was good in that last
really
quarter.
good, yeah.
And then they got these kids.
Yeah. And look, that's all kicked off for them since they dominated the last quarter of the showdown game. And they've won that game and the 3 since. And, yeah, they're sort of a nice little roll. That was a game that they could have easily lost yesterday. They didn't. And they'll get the benefit out of being able to critique it in a negative way, but with the solace of having 4 premiership points to do so.
What about Jordan Dawson? I don't think anyone expected him to be nearly captain, but then the way he's been playing, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's almost if they held him back to from the midfield role that he's now overtaken. And again, Bill, I'm a massive fan of what Darren Burgess has done at a couple of footy clubs, particularly Melbourne in 2021 as the fitness and high performance man on the books, and then went to Adelaide last year. He's had a year in the system. I've got no doubt that him being at that club has helped Dawson becoming the player. Now, he's got the talent, and they've identified it by recruiting him and making him captain. But I think the layers to his game...
And the kids that he's got fit. Pedler,
Saligo. Yep.
All these kids are just, they're playing really good footy.
Nah,
They're
they
They've
fit.
really
got a very brutal month ahead. They've got
Well, they got-
Collingwood,
yeah.
St Kilda, Geelong, and Western Bulldogs at Ballarat.
That's a brutal month,
They
yeah.
will find out a bit about themselves then. But,
But
4 in a
their
row
best-
is 4 in a row.
Yeah, their best will, if they can get through that patch with the 2-2 scoreline, I think they'll be pretty happy.
No, I think
And
you're
the
right.
Cats,
we
quickly,
need to go to a break.
One more positive.
No, we're not. We can't do that, Fat. We're running out of time. Sucked in. More with Damo next. Charlie Cameron, we're going to quickly bowl over a couple more positives.
Yeah, there's 7 goals he kicked. Every time there's a challenge in this small forward space, and Tom Papley, your man Jim, is clearly one of them. Tyson Stengel last year, Bill. Yep. He just continues to remind us. I mean, he's an All-Australian in the past, and look, I think he's tracking to be that person again this year. And he's got some tricks, doesn't he?
Oh.
And
Out the
there
back.
you go.
Is he the quick? I know. Who is the quickest? Paps or Charlie? Charlie gets
can
on the
put the
ball.
afterburners on when he's going toward goal.
When he's over the back.
Like a good small forward can.
Yeah.
And
Any other positives?
Yeah, we better get to Geelong. I'm still...
Keziah Pickett, by the way, is pretty good at putting the afterburners on.
Look, we're obviously beating Hawthorn, then West Coast, and then a absolutely demoralised by way of a available player, Sydney Swans on the weekend. I still don't know what's going on, but maybe it just doesn't matter. They've got their act back, haven't they, Bill? And you don't...
Well, the start, set it up the other. Dangerfield's attack on the ball from the first bounce, hard as a cat's head. He was fantastic. Then, obviously, Jezza and Tomahawk. Tomahawk's back. And then the role players, like Close and all those boys.
Atkins was back, wasn't he? After a slowish start.
Yes, Gary Rowan, he's chased down.
Yep.
Just they all chip in when they have to. So, and good to be home with the unfurling of the flag.
Oh, yeah, and the construction site to the left-hand side of the
Just
stadium.
a few little
That
problems
looks good.
there. We'll sort them out.
Bontempelli too, Marcus
Sam
Bontempelli.
Simpson, sorry, Narrow's boy.
Big Narrow.
Yeah,
Kicked the first goal
after
again.
600 days out.
600. Well done to little Narrow.
Yep.
He didn't let on last year, Jim, as to how banged up he was with a foot injury initially, other injuries, and just lingering illness that he curtailed his progress last year. Still finished 4th in the best and fairest. He's back now, and I still reckon he's the best in the comp when he's up and
certainly
running.
on baller, absolutely.
Yeah, and he's flying again.
Trelaw's going well too, isn't he? He's
Trelaw
a
had a really
nice
good
little
game on the
Batman
weekend.
Robin there.
Better get to the negatives, I
Yes,
reckon.
get
Now.
there. Get there.
And we'll focus on the Coleman Medal winner of 2021 as part of the Carlton negative conversation here, that being Harry Mackay, Charlie Curnow, the 2022 Coleman medalist. But 9 goals, 8 for the year from 23 shots at goal. 4 of those 9 goals came against North Melbourne on the Good Friday day. So, again, weigh all that up. A couple of moments yesterday
snaps.
Were really poor. That their momentum-sucking occasions, aren't they, Bill? Particularly with what happened in the third quarter when they were getting the ball in, and he had 2 shots in a matter of a minute, and didn't look likely on either. And
hit the belly.
You've just got to be better than that when you are that person. I do though wonder the common medal status to which he has. It came on the back of a 58-goal season. Now that's not a lot of goals when it comes to historical common medal winners. So maybe the title he's got and the status he's got is forcing us to judge him harshly right now in a way that we may not have otherwise.
But still clunks it and he gets it a fair bit.
Yeah, yes, they want him to have it though, do you, if you're a Blues supporter?
Speaking of that, what about yesterday? Chera 39, Walsh 38, Akers 36, Cripps 34, Hewitt 29, Newman 28. Then the first St Kilda player was Sinclair with 27. So you got all that ball, these Carlton. Where's it going?
Not
sideways or backwards?
Not efficiently forward, anyway.
No, exactly. Yeah. Weird.
The 2 Perth teams are now a genuine concern. Yeah. Look, West Coast barely can field a team. They're down to 23, 24, 25. And I do question, though, the impact that those out are going to have if and when they come back. I mean, McGovern has still got footy left in him, but I feel it's over the edge when it comes to what was his best. Nat Nui, again, I don't know when he's going to return, but he's going to be so out of condition if he does return.
Elliot Yeo
again. Shuey went down on the weekend with an ankle this time, Bill. Ankle. He came back into the team and went down with it, subbed out with an ankle. So, again, on top of all the soft tissues, Ryan's got a soft tissue. Cripps is out with an ankle that he's got as well. And, yeah, Dom Sheed is also on that injury list. You just don't know how they're going to make massive impact if and when they do come back. Yeah. So another long season for them, and across town too. The Dockers are in a spot of bother, given they've only beaten a banged up West Coast in the Derby, and were lucky the way the game was unfolding to beat Gold Coast in round 5 at Norwood Oval only 2 weeks ago.
So they've got to find a forward, don't they? And I don't know how or where they get one or two.
Well, they're not going to get one from outside their list.
No, they've got to give something up or do something.
What, you're talking about next year?
Next year.
List management.
Yes.
Another 18 games to get through, whatever
they've just got no one.
No, they don't. And
no connection.
I like Jai Amos, but he's not ready to be the main man in there. And Taberner going down, and you do need to factor in the injuries they've got, but he's been on the list now for 10 years and again, hasn't yet fully taken a season over.
We
but
spoke
they could
about
do with
this
him.
Purple the other day. They've got to get much more proactive. They're playing a very reactive brand of footy for me.
They are.
They're basically just trying to hold rather than actually aggressively take their game into games of footy. So I'm sure they would have addressed that and get that right. They have to.
This may not be a surprise to some, but after the opening to the season that North Melbourne had with wins over West Coast and Fremantle, and let's maybe factor that into the 2 wins they did have, losses now since to Hawthorn, Carlton, Brisbane and Gold Coast, and they're becoming quite messy again in this still short time frame that Alistair Clarkson's had in charge.
So what will be worrying, I haven't spoken to him, but what would be worrying him is how easily scored against they've been in the last 2 weeks. I think the Brisbane Lions had 30 or 42 scoring shots in that game, and then on the weekend the Gold Coast had nearly 30.
Yep.
So that's a worry. When you're starting to get opened up, going the other way, that was the thing I think all North Melbourne and footy fans liked in the first month was they were holding up defensively, but that's 2 very bad weeks. So I'm sure the little master will be going to work out how they can start defending better.
Yeah, but the hold your position and man the ground is just not working, as you said, Jim. And again, we touched on this a moment ago, but I'm just really keen to see what Richmond does do tonight. They've only got the 6 premiership points to this point of the season. I just cannot see how they can even be competitive against Melbourne in terms of can they win the game of footy. So, yeah, for them to come out of the first 6 rounds with just a win and a draw, and I'm factoring in a loss in this conversation, but they're it's not unfolding for them the way they had planned, given the recruitment of Hopper and Taranto was meant to.
They haven't played the game yet.
They haven't. No, and that's a really good point, Jim. But so it's a watch this space on the Tigers.
All right. So are we sending buses anywhere, or what's?
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't going to, were you?
Well,
Now you've
we
got
brought them back to gather round, but we now need to send them back over the Nullarbor across to one of your former hometowns.
That one's
Jim.
not going to make it across the
No,
No,
that's not getting
we'll get
It's
it
gotta
there.
go on a
It's
truck.
been everywhere, Bill. It's the old combi van, and it'll get across there. We need to have a look at what West Coast and Fremantle are doing. They're the big problems at the moment.
Can Jezza kick 100? Yes or no?
Yep.
We can. Whether he's going to, I don't know, but yes, he could.
The extra game helps immensely in this.
Yeah, 23
23 plus 3 finals if they go through, a double chance through the final series, and quite possibly a fourth final if they lose the first one.
Nice to see you, Purple. Thanks for dropping in.
See you, boys. Enjoy the next 2 days.